Imagine a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, where the words of a simple YouTube video changed everything for a mother and her son. Sister Anne, who had never heard of the rapture before 2021, saw her life transformed by mysterious dreams. She and her son Frey had visions that challenged their understanding and beliefs, in a place where biblical prophecies are almost unknown. Do you want to know what happened next? Get ready, because what I'm about to share will move you. We live in an intercultural country where witches and sorcerers are part of our family, making the challenges of raising my child even more complex, especially with a spouse who doesn't share the same beliefs. Sometimes, fear and despair overwhelm me about the possibility of the rapture. But God always finds a way to comfort me with His truth, His word, and through His servants. This year, spiritual attacks have intensified, and I found myself questioning God about the rapture and other concerns. Although I haven't had a clear dream about it, God often reveals insights to me in dreams, since childhood, about our spiritual battles, and even about people around me. On Saturday, July 20th of this year, both my son and I had dreams that warned us about what's to come, with a voice in my dream telling me that Jesus is coming very soon, and that we must be ready for the rapture. These dreams were not just ordinary. They carried an urgency I had never felt before. The voice I heard was clear and unmistakable, warning me about the nearness of the rapture and the need to be spiritually prepared. My son, who had a similar dream that same night, shared his vision with me, and it reinforced the feeling that something significant is about to happen. Since then, I've sought God's presence even more, trying to guide my family on the right path despite the spiritual challenges and skepticism around us. With each passing day, I feel the responsibility to warn others about the importance of being ready, as time is short and the signs are becoming increasingly evident. In my dream, I felt an indescribable urgency, as if something was about to happen very soon, and the need to be prepared for it was intense. Although I remember only fragments of the dream, the message was clear. We must warn others about what's coming. While I questioned God about something, I can't recall the exact question, but I distinctly heard the phrase, 3 days, without understanding what it might mean, whether days, weeks, or years. The next night, on July 21st, I had another dream where I was prompted to write letters to those who would be left behind, Christians who still cling more to the letter of the Word than to God Himself. I was guided to warn them and show them how to reconnect with the Almighty before it's too late. These letters, I felt in my dream, would be a last chance for those who would miss the rapture because they were distracted or distant from God, despite their faith. The mission was clear: to deliver a message of hope and guidance so that, even after the great departure, these souls could find their way back to true communion with God. The weight of this responsibility stayed with me upon waking, and I realized that this task was not just a personal calling, but an urgent duty to share with everyone who still has time to prepare. Every word written in these letters could be the difference between loss and redemption for those left behind. I was led to abandon false religions and follow Christ exclusively, for only He is the door to heaven and the way to the Almighty Father. These 2 dreams I had carried a clear urgency to warn others about how close we are to this event. Now let me share a sensory dream I had. On Sunday morning, while preparing lunch, my 3-year-old son was playing around the house singing, when suddenly he jumped in front of me and said, "Mom, Jesus told me in my dream that He is coming very soon." He continued playing, and although I cared about what he said, I didn't take it very seriously at that moment, as I had already talked to him about my own dreams and the importance of being prepared for the rapture. Later, after his afternoon nap, he returned to playing around the house, but this time he hugged me and repeated that Jesus would be coming very soon, as revealed to him in his dreams. At that moment, the repetition of the message by my son began to deeply move me. It wasn't just a coincidence. Something was being communicated through him. The purity and simplicity with which he spoke about Jesus coming touched my heart in a way I couldn't ignore. I started reflecting on the importance of paying attention to the signs God sends us, even through the youngest and most innocent. From that day on, I decided to take these revelations even more seriously. Understanding that God was using my son to reaffirm the urgency of the times we are living in and the need to prepare spiritually for what is to come, my son told me that a bad man came to attack him and, once again, he simply returned to playing. He went to his father and said the same thing, but the father didn't pay much attention either. Initially, I didn't take it seriously, thinking he might be repeating something from my dream. Later that afternoon, I began to reflect on what my son had said, and my own dream came back to mind. So, I picked up my son, hugged him, and asked if he could tell me more about his dreams. I did this again at night to ensure he was being sincere. He told me that in his dreams, although he didn't see Jesus, he heard his voice saying that a bad man, or perhaps the devil himself, came to attack him. He used a French word that we normally use to refer to the devil, the evil one. He said he tried to defend himself when the bad man came after him following Jesus' warning that he was coming. As I listened to my son describe this dream, I began to realize that something very serious was happening, something beyond our everyday understanding. The idea that he was being attacked in his dreams right after receiving a message from Jesus made me understand that the spiritual battles we face are not just mine, but also deeply involve my son. This dream seemed to be a warning, not just for us, but perhaps for all those who are spiritually inattentive. With this in mind, I felt the need to intensify our prayers and strengthen our faith, knowing that we are dealing with forces far beyond what we can see. This was a wake-up call, a reminder that we need to be vigilant and prepared for what is to come. He told me that in his dream, he tried to defend himself with a sword and attacked something that seemed to be evil. Then, he saw everyone being raptured into heaven, and afterward, Jesus appeared to defeat the evil. Initially, he only heard Jesus' voice, but later he saw him defeating the enemy. A few days later, I asked him again about his dreams to get more details, and he added that Jesus said he would come soon, and that when we are in heaven, there will be no electricity on earth and great tribulations will occur. Although I have been reading the Bible to my son since he was born and mentioning the rapture and tribulation, it had been a month since I last touched on those topics. My son is only 3 years old, and what he said makes me believe that God was giving us warning dreams, both to me and to him, on that same night, to alert people about what is to come. These dreams, both mine and my son's, seem interconnected, as if they were pieces of a divine puzzle that God has given us to understand the seriousness of what is to come. The fact that my son, so young, had such specific details about things he couldn't fully comprehend, like the absence of electricity and the tribulations on earth, reinforced in me the conviction that these dreams are not mere coincidences. They are clear warnings that we need to prepare spiritually and help others do the same. It's as if God is giving us a limited time to adjust and align with His will before the events unfold. With this in mind, I feel an even greater responsibility to share these messages and guide my family and others to be ready for what is coming. I often share my dreams with relatives and friends, trying to convey God's message. However, many around me, influenced by false religions and practices like witchcraft, go to church and say they love God, but they don't genuinely believe in His word. They prefer to trust religious leaders like popes, priests, and pastors, but not the scriptures. Whenever I mention the rapture, people around me fall silent or change the subject. Even so, as believers, we know that when God promises something, He will fulfill it. I believe the warning dreams my son and I had on the same night of July 20th were given by God to show that this is not the product of our imagination. I pray that all of us, as children of God, are ready for the approaching rapture. May God bless you all, brothers and sisters. These dreams are a call to vigilance and preparation. God, in His mercy, is warning us to be ready and steadfast in our faith, even when those around us choose to ignore or disbelieve. I know it won't be easy, especially in an environment where people are so disconnected from the true biblical prophecies, but the urgency of these dreams gives me the strength to keep sharing this message. I hope that, as you hear this testimony, you feel the same call to prepare and help others do the same. If this message has helped you better understand the signs of the end times, please leave a like and share it so that more people can be reached.